live here on the JoyNews channel. We're also on digital terrestrial TV because we're free to air. DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. This is JoyNews, independent, fearless and credible. Coming up this afternoon, we can't afford to pay in these trying times. The reaction of some angry parents who are learning of government's decision to review the free senior high school policy. We have the latest on that decision for you. Also, National Democratic Congress launches a scathing attack on the Chief Justice in Inyeboa, accusing him of administrative abuses. This afternoon on The Pulse, we hear from the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress as he raises issues with Ghana's judiciary. Plus, it's that time of the year again where, of course, we at JoyNews bring you all your housing needs at the most patronized one-stop shop, the EcoBank JoyNews Habitat Fair 2022. This year, we say, where you leave matters. And so we tell you more about the first clinic, which opens at the Achimota Retail Center. It's all coming up here on The Pulse. I am Blessed Sogah. The Pulse is brought to you by Global Communities, Digny Lu, Affordable Safe Sanitation. Remember that this afternoon we're streaming live on YouTube and all of our social media handles is at JoyNews on TV. Feel free to join us with the hashtag The Pulse. My personal handle is at Blessed Sogah. Always a pleasure serving you here on The Pulse. Please stay. Well, so this afternoon, some parents are expressing displeasure of the government's decision to review the free senior high school policy. Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Professor Opoku Amankwa, tells JoyNews in an exclusive interview that his outfit has begun a cost analysis on how to determine how much parents would have to pay as part of the cost-sharing modality. You can listen.
It's a bigger conversation. It's a bigger conversation, not only for GES, not only for the Ministry of Education, but for the entire country. And then what we will do is that for us on our part, we will start with the smaller ideas of looking at aspects of it. Today, for example, some of the discussions that I've had with my statistics team for them to do something for me is to do what we call unit cost analysis as far as educating a student is concerned. So we will do unit cost analysis, especially for the free SHS. So if we take Raymond as a student, starting from SHS 1 to SHS 3, we can do the analysis and then come up and say that, okay, to give Raymond quality education, it will cost this much. Within that cost, these are the items in the cost. Then we all put it out there and they'll say, oh, this item, I think we can make do of it. And it will not affect quality. This item, I think we can get parents to pay. This item, let's find some, let the regional, the district offices or regional offices take care of this, you know. So when we have done that, and we've all added our inputs into it, then we can all come back and say that, okay, for this, the total cost for educating someone in the free SHS, this is it. But we believe that if you take them item by item, these items, we can do this, we can do that, we can do that. So at the end of the day, we can all agree that this is the amount that we believe that government should bear. You know, so those things are going on, but I believe that once education is not only for GES and Ministry of Education, it will be played into the bigger discussion for all of us to make our contributions.
Well, so this afternoon we're asking that big question: how much is the free senior high school costing the taxpayer? Let's bring you a breakdown of what's happening. There you have it. except of the budgetary allocation since 2019 in terms of how much we're funding the free senior high school policy. And you can see that from 2019 all the way to 2022, the amount we allocated in 2019 points to some 1.68 billion Ghana cedis. However, that amount went up in 2020, where we allocated some 2.43 billion. It dipped a bit in the year 2021 with some 1.97 expenditure. But for now, in 2022, per the budgetary allocations that we're learning of, it appears that the figures are moving to 2.3 billion. But in terms of the weight of education itself on the expenditure of government, there you have it on your screens. We have obviously the total expenditure in terms of 2019 amounting to some 12.9 billion. Then we have 2020 with 11.6, and in 2021 it was 15.6 billion, and where we are now in 2022 with some 17.8 billion Ghana cedis. But that question in terms of how much it is costing an individual, how much government is spending on an individual student, there you have it, the total amount, 1,823 Ghana cedis. So that's how much we're spending on a child per year in terms of the cost of free senior high school when it comes to government expenditure. But beyond that, we're looking at the possibility of a review in the wake of an IMF policy. Mind you, government has decided to engage the International Monetary Fund for austerity measures. So the question is, will government consider reviewing some of its subsidized programs or social interventions? That has been that big question. Here's the official response, for instance, from the Finance Ministry on that matter. And you have that on your screens right now, pointing out to the fact that the government, in its enhanced domestic program, has started a review of these programs, which is the free senior high school, to see how best they can be optimized and become more efficient. But many are arguing that, in fact, the signs were on the wall earlier. The finance minister, of course, announcing there in 2018 his personal view on what should be done about the free senior high school policy. So you have the excerpts indicating that persons with the means should be given that opportunity to pay fees for the awards, whilst government collects the data to determine segments of society which may benefit from that policy, because that argument has been made that the government lacks the accurate data on students that may genuinely be in need. But if you are about to carry out a review, what are the possibilities here? There you have it. Tuition fee either slashed or the issue of feeding fee touched. Now, on the issue of the tuition fee itself, we need to give you a breakdown, because that 1,800 that we're talking about, which is being spent on a student per year, has some dynamics. We've not factored in day students and boarding students. But let's move now to the issue of the day and the boarding school students, shall we? So in terms of the day students, they are paying less in terms of their fees. So if government wants to consider some sort of a review, the option is either to make the day students entirely free or subsidized. Then we have the boarding fees actually going for full payment while the day students are made free, or we have the day students or the boarding students going totally subsidized, and then we put some cost to the day students, knowing that they pay less in terms of their fees. So these are the options that are coming up in terms of how we should be treating all of this. And so, fortunately, there's a lot of reactions greeting this. One of the persons involved is the spokesperson for the Education Ministry, Kwesi Kwarteng, who's joining us right now on the Pulse. We understand that a lot of issues are flowing from that office in terms of whether or not the ministry in its own rights has begun that process of review as being communicated by the Ghana Education Service. Kwesi, good afternoon to you. Welcome to the Pulse. So I need to put that to you first of all before we even hear from parents on this matter. Is the government considering a review of the free senior high school policy?
Well, good afternoon, and good afternoon to your viewers. Let me say that from the side of the Ministry of Education and the Minister for Education, Honorable Dr. Yao Oseduchu, who I speak for, there has not been any discussion as such. We have not had that conversation so far as a review, especially within the context of what it was placed, is concerned. That issue has not come up As far as we are concerned, the free SHS, of course, I mean, beyond these challenges, it's something that government is still funding, and the program is still there and is still working, and we are still working to make sure that it's better. So let me put it in a very proper perspective, that for the avoidance of doubt and for purposes of clarity, the Ministry of Education, which is the policy implementer, has not had such discussions when it comes to a review. Of course, I have just listened to what you played about a possible review of the Director General for the Ghana Education Service, and from the understanding I have, is an analogy he was creating. I mean, you and I know that when it comes to policy decisions, it has more to do with the president or the ministry or the minister. Of course, I mean, beyond that, you may have some other agencies that are helping with the implementation of the policy. Or when it comes to the policy decision, it is the prerogative of the president of the land, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and the minister, Dr. Yawose Educhum, and that conversation has not come up. So I just want to say that when that conversation comes up, probably we may look at it, and then all consequential decisions we may discuss it as a people. But for now, SHS is not under any review, especially within the context of the review that it was placed, where we are saying that parents are going to pay a amount or that amount. That discussion, we've not had it as a ministry.
The argument is you're being diplomatic about the facts confronting the ministry and even government at this point. You're cash-strapped. You may not be able to fund the policy going forward. And for some as well, the signs have been on the wall, looking at what the finance minister said way back in 2018, that you would have to identify and operate with a targeted free senior high school policy. Why are you running away from the facts here?
From 2018 till 2022 is barely 4 years. Why are we still running the program? If it has got to do with government being cash-strapped. Of course, there may be challenges with the policy. Even before free SHS, there were still challenges within the education system, especially at the SHS level. That is why we are there as leaders. When there are challenges, we will solve it. And that is the beauty of leadership. I am not sure it is an issue of the states or the country not having money. Of course, if you want all of us to have that broader conversation about alternative funding or funding in general about the free SHS policy, it is something that everybody will embrace. We are all Ghanaians. We can look into that. But so far as I am concerned, the briefing I have from my minister, the position of the ministry is that the policy is not under review.
Yeah, but you hear, for instance, but you hear, for instance, from the Director General indicating clearly that this conversation goes even beyond the ministry, which supervises his organization. So it appears this is an elaborate plan by government to review the policy, which you may not be aware of because you are at the education ministry.
I speak for the Minister for Education. I don't speak for myself. I speak on authority. I speak for the Ministry of Education. And at least I should be giving that benefit of the doubt of having known my facts. Come to speak on such a sense. But what is most important is that at the end of the day, the facts are clear that the policy is still running. We as a ministry will do everything best, just like the minister have always been doing, to make sure that we make the policy very progressive, increase access, open access, make sure that there is quality, so that the socio-economic transformation that we want as a people, we get it. When there are challenges, we'll fix it. When those challenges requires that we consult the entire public, the Ghanaians, we have to do that. But of course, when it comes to policy decisions, largely it comes from the executive. And I mean, if you listen to what the Director General of GES said, he was only drawing an analogy and if you like, call it an assumption, certain assumptions, that these are the possible options if you consider reviewing. I'm not sure that could be a basis for anybody to conclude on absolute terms that he is saying that there is a review. No, that cannot be an entirely accurate statement. There is a more reason why the Minister for Education has directed that at least we give that clarification to clear any form of doubt that people probably might have gotten from what the Director General said. It is possible for people to misunderstand what he said. But at least we have come out to clarify everything. That our official position is that policy is not under review, and government is still bent on making sure that the policy runs. Of course, in the near future, if it becomes very necessary that conversation comes up, why not? We engage the media, we engage the public, we engage all Ghanaians, and then all consequential decisions that will come out from that engagement will let Ghanaians know. But as I speak to you in present, the free SHS policy is still running. Government is still paying for tuition. Government is still paying for feeding. When there are any challenges, that is why we are there as leaders. We'll solve it and we'll move on.
Well, the argument is that future which you're referring to is here now. Is it not your conviction that perhaps in a few days from now we will be confronted with that opportunity to decide as to whether or not the policy should either be cancelled, reviewed, or changed in its current state as we speak?
Issues about the futuristic issues, nobody really can predict. But as of now, I can say that there has not been any such conversation on the table of the minister. No discussions as such has taken place. Of course, issues in the future, when it gets there, we may have to look at it. And I will not run away from that if there was any such conversation.
Because you seem to be insistent on that point. So let me bring it up then. The concern, first of all, about the structure in terms of how we're running this policy called the Free Senior High School Policy. We understand from government that you're running a process where the Free Senior High School, for instance, is being run from the presidency and not directly from the Ministry of Education, quote and unquote, right? I'm correct with these facts, right? So if that's the case, why then should we be taking your word for it that the policy is not being reviewed?
Question. Let me answer you.
Right.
I work in the Ministry of Education. In the Ministry of Education, we have a free SHS secretariat who has a national coordinator and 2 deputy national coordinators. There is a Minister of Education who oversees their activities day in, day out. So this whole point about is being run from the presidency, I'm hearing it for the first time. You can come to the ministry and check. But look, what is more important?
Yeah, but if you're making that statement, we understand that this is a flagship program. That's how it's been described. And per the, various documents or even statements that were made by some government signs on the flagship projects being run, and not just the Free Senior High School, the One District, One Factory, and some other initiatives, it's quite clear that this is at the heart of the presidency or the president's vision. And so the explanation we had was that this policy was going to run from the presidency. You can't contest these facts that are already out there.
No. Granted, without even admitting that it is being run from the presidency. At the end of the day, what changes? It really doesn't change anything. The focus has been that Ghanaians, about 100,000 Ghanaians who ordinarily wouldn't have access to their various secondary schools, now have access. Cumulatively, between 2017 till now, that is about 5 years. That is about 500,000 Ghanaian students that would have just looked into their face and tell them that, hey, look, you are a Ghanaian, you qualified. But due to financial challenges, you wouldn't have the opportunity to go to our various secondary schools. We shouldn't, at the end of the day, belittle the excellence and the value that free SHS adds. What is most important is that at the end of the day, the free SHS policy is under the Ministry of Education. It is functional. It is running. There is a secretariat fully in charge for that. The Ghana Education Service is also there. They are also doing their bit. The other agencies are also there. They are also doing their bit. Today we have T-Best Service, which is also running the free T-Best policy, which is also doing their part. At the end of the day, when there are challenges or we are confronted with challenges, I've always insisted that the challenges even within the educational space has always been systemic. It is not necessarily as a result of the free SHS per se. Especially, you may even look at, for instance, feeding, which we may recently have some challenges there. Before the free SHS, those challenges existed. If you look at books before free SHS, those challenges existed. Infrastructure, those challenges existed.
Yeah, but
so this whole, let me land.
Yeah.
This whole attempt to to try to, make it look like every challenge within the education system has location by free SHS is neither here nor there. But what is more important, what is most important is that we are there as a ministry. The minister is there to take responsibilities. The minister is there to fix problems. The minister is there not to complain about problems. Whatever challenge that we may be having with the free SHS, we are there to resolve it. But ultimately, at least for purpose of clarity and as a statement of fact, the free SHS policy is running. The over 100,000 students who did not have access to their various secondary schools in time past, cumulatively from 2017 till now, that will be about 500,000. This time around, they are having access to education. And for me, that is the most important.
Kwesi Kwarteng, let me ask you this question. What is the role of the Ghana Education Service, and how central is that role to the administration of the Ministry of Education?
Yes, Ghana Education Service, based on the act that establishes, I think it's the Pre-Tertiary Act 1024, is to regulate the pre-tertiary space. The pre-tertiary space, you are looking at it from KG1 up to the secondary school level.
So I'm glad with that response. So if this is the regulator coming out to say we're looking at and this is the Director General. He says we're looking at the cost component, and what we're doing is that we want to see which component the parents can take care of. Between the Director General of the Ghana Education Service, the regulator, and a spokesperson for the political authority of the ministry, between the regulator and yourself, who should we take seriously in this matter, with all due respect?
With all due respect, I feel even this analogy is not fair. But at least for the purpose of Ghanaians, the larger community who I speak to, I will answer you. For me, it has not to do with who to believe or who not to believe. Clearly, if you listen to the statement of the Director General of GES, he was not making a statement of fact, and he was not that very emphatic in absolute terms that there is being reviewed. Play to ordinary Ghanaians. They are discerning Ghanaians. A lot of Ghanaians with conscience, and they will tell you that. Hold on. Let me land. Hold on. The Director General was only drawing an analogy based on what he himself as a person has been doing in his office. At no point did he make any emphatic statement that the free SHS policy was going to be reviewed. Of course, it's natural for you to draw inferences and make implications about somebody's statement. But we are saying that for purposes of clarity, I don't know how that ultimately wants to be disregarded. And now you want to create a comparison of a spokesperson. Indeed, even if Kwesi Kwarteng speaks for the ministry, he doesn't speak for himself. He speaks for the Minister for Education. And you have been engaged me for the past 1 year. And I'm not sure you've doubted my credibility on what I say. I'm not doubting your authority.
What I am asking for is the role where to situate the Ghana Education Service, knowing that it has legal backing. It has legal backing. Just hold on for me. It has legal backing to whatever decision it may take in terms of regulating the pre-tertiary space.
When it comes to even policy decisions, you and I know, we are Ghanaians. You are a media, I'm sure you even know better than me. Policy decisions largely, even if you even want to go into the details of it, has to do with the executive. For that matter, the president of the land and the ministry. We're happy, in this case, which happens to be the Minister for Education, Dr. Yaosedu. These are the only two people who ordinarily may make even pronouncements on policy decisions. So it presupposes that if you want to even use the root of logical consistency, what the Director General only said was to make a case drawing some extensive analogy, looking at the options that are available to us as Ghanaians if we want to make that route. He was not saying that clearly you and I know an agency cannot make decisions when it comes to policy decisions. So I know he's a professor, he knows even better than I do. And at no point did he do that. Of course, if you make that difference and create that conclusion, it's fair. But at least you should give everybody the right to fair hearing, the right to come out to clarify our points. And for God's sake, the ministry has been in charge of policy decisions, policy issues. Then I am here making a very emphatic statement that we are not going to review policy, and you are not believing. That's fine.
Anyway, that's not what I intend to do. Actually, I'm just asking because I wanted to be sure if you have the authority and the backing of the prof himself, who made that disclosure.
I have spoken to him. I have spoken to Professor
And what did he tell you about the statement he made?
Professor Pokwa told me emphatically that he did not say that. He did not say that.
But he's on
course,
tape.
He asked me to listen to the video and draw a conclusion for myself. When I listened to the video, the conclusion was that I realized he was just making an analogy and if you like, some assumptions that he was trying to use in building his case. I mean, he knows that in terms of the structures, it is not an agency that makes policy decisions. Of course, I mean, per that logic, then NASIA will also say that tomorrow free SHS is coming back. NTC will also say that tomorrow free SHS is off. Sendlos will say that the free SHS is coming. I'm not sure that is what you want us to push.
This was the platform on which he made the very statement. Let me play that back to you. You listen to it once.
I listened earlier.
And then we can all make our judgments out of it. I'll take your thoughts again. So once more, here's Professor Amankwa on the point.
Bigger conversation, not only for GES, not only for the Ministry of Education, but for the entire country. And then what we will do is that for us on our part, we will start with the smaller ideas of looking at aspects of it. Today, for example, some of the discussions that I've had with my statistics team for them to do something for me is to do what we call unit cost analysis as far as educating a student is concerned. So we'll do unit cost analysis, especially for the free SHS. So if we take Raymond as a student, starting from SHS 1 to SHS 3, we can do the analysis and then come up and say that, okay, to give Raymond quality education, it will cost this much. Within that cost, these are the items in the cost. Then we all put it out there and then say, oh, this item, I think we can make do of it, and it will not affect quality. This item, I think we can get parents to pay. This item, let's find some, let the regional, the district offices or regional offices take care of this, you know. So when we have done that, and we've all added our inputs into it, then we can all come back and say that, okay, for this, the total cost for educating someone in the free SHS, this is it. But we believe that if you take them item by item, these items, we can do this, we can do that, we can do that. So at the end of the day, we can all agree that this is the amount that we believe that government should bear. You know, so those things are going on, but I believe that once education is not only for GES and Ministry of Education, it will be played into the bigger discussion for all of us to make our contributions.
Yeah, these things are going on. I mean, so it's clear now, right? The review is happening.
So you see, if you take the text out of the context, you'll be missing the essence of the conversation. Context is very important. I mean, even if you listen to the man, he keeps referring to me, I think. A lot of these statements are very subjective.
Kwesi, I understand. I mean, you're very good at your job. I appreciate that fact. But these are his words. He says, on our part, that's exactly what we're going to do.
No, I don't think this is fair. What are you implying?
No,
it's the same inferences. It's the same inferences that made you drew that conclusion that the GS man has said free SHS is being reviewed. I mean, you can interview him again, at least for purpose of clarity and avoidance of doubt. But I mean, the most important thing is that ultimately we take responsibility as a ministry for everything. I have spoken to Professor Pokwa, and he's made this point clear. Of course, I mean, it turns out that his opinions did not stand clearer as matching or tallying with his intentions. And based on that, you may make those inferences. But at least speaking with him and speaking with the minister, the briefing I have is that the position of the ministry is clear that the government has not had any such plans to review it, especially within the context of the conversation that we are having. Of course, I mean, subsequently, if such conversations come up, why not? I'm sure even Prof, my good self, the minister, and yourself. I mean, first for Ghanaians, we'll look at it and then see the next week. But for now, the policy is not under review. For now, the policy is doing well. For now, the policy has been able to double up enrollment. For now, we have about 1.5 million Ghanaian students that are beneficiaries of the policy. We admit there are challenges, but we also admit that we are there as leadership to resolve them. And that is the state of the free SHS policy.
You agree that the policy as of now is facing some challenges, right?
Just like any other policy in the world, even if you want to narrow it to Ghana, free maternal care, how do you call it, transport, whatever, every other policy may have its own individual challenges. But of course, how you rate a policy is not about the challenges that it struck, but largely about the successes that those policies have and the impact that it has on people, and how you are able to galvanize yourself together to be able to respond to those challenges. Every policy will have challenges. Even sometimes the solutions to some policies or solutions to some problems itself has problems. It doesn't mean that the policy is not good. So we are there to fix challenges. That's why we are leaders. That is how come leadership is there. I'm sure even at Joy there, you may have your own challenges. Yes, still every morning you open your station and you give us the best of SMS, you give us the best of news, and still we appreciate it, in spite of all the many challenges that you may have as a station.
Right, and I'm sure that you're well aware that the country is running back to the IMF. The one who's in charge of the kitty in 2018, the finance minister says you would have to do a targeted approach, and that was his personal view at the time in terms of running the free senior high school policy. We're rolling on an austerity plan in the few months to come. Don't you foresee that affecting the free senior high school policy, given the fact that in terms of allocation of resources, the one who is in charge and has the power to do so has expressed that opinion way back in 2018 by saying that if you give me the personal opportunity, I would say let's do a targeted free senior high school policy.
You want to push me to a very slippery ground, but I will waive that opportunity anyway. I'll just repeat how I answered this question. When you asked the question earlier, and my point was that even though he might have made such statement, it's the same finance minister who has been helping with the free SHS policy since 2018. Is free SHS still not being funded from 2018? So is words against actions. I end there.
Let me save you the trouble for now. Kwesi Kwarteng is the spokesperson of the Ministry of Education. Thank you, sir, for joining us. But some parents earlier, upon hearing the news, expressed fear and displeasure over government's decision to consider that possible review of the policy. Some of them are appealing to government to keep on with the program.
Ya ofona yekuma wuja ye kuna fono ya man better no motimi akobi sa anya anya se ye 10 cedis aban support 5 cedis se ma ye ho heha ye nkakra nti ye sere no
Well, Chancellor of the Wisconsin University, Dr. Paul Finn, has called on the government to allow private institutions to participate in providing quality education to the citizenry to ease pressure on public institutions.
Government should do it, then we are in trouble. Let us do. You have the ability, you have the talent. How can why single-handedly we could build a university like this and have one in Kumasi? I mean, it's unbelievable. So please, the press, I beg you to encourage the government to allow individuals, giving them tax-free, and supporting them and making them to work. We will do it. But if the government is controlling everything and the government doesn't have the money, there will be always strife. There will all be confusion in the government. I don't care which government. It could be CPP, NDC, MPP, and any government that will come. They should concentrate more on private participation rather than government taking control on things. Even private participation rather than government participation. I see government, we should not depend too much on the government. If we depend on the government will fail you. Because they have so much programs that they can't. They should allow individuals to do it. America is great, Europe is great, because individuals are really running the country. It's not the government. Especially, for example, education. Ghana government is spending over 75% of their income on education alone. Why? Why don't you allow private people run education? Let the private people run education, and it will be okay. Let the churches, a mission. In the past, the mission, the churches, the organization, individuals were running schools, and then all of a sudden the government took over. And it is creating problems. Private people, private education, there will be no strike. They will not really go on strike because they have not provided sugar and also tea. They will be very willing to work. And I still continue to encourage the government to sit down and think through seriously on this educational system, that it should be handed over to individuals. Look at what we have done here. All the equipment that we have here, you go to all the public universities, you won't find all that we have here. Even the mannequins, the whole of Africa, you take government universities and also even the banks and others and hospitals, they don't have even the mannequins that we have here. We are the first, and we are bringing the new diagnostic also. It's the private, it's not government. Go to the government hospital, you can't find them. So they should allow private people to participate and grow the country, make the country better so that everybody can live in it. I don't know why everybody is dependent on government. Government give me milk, government give me sugar, government open my door and put me on my bed, government get my key and go to the post office and get my mail for me. Why? When a private man can do it. And because of the dependency on the government, people sit down and we become lazy. I don't know. I think the government should have all people together and think seriously about private participation in this government. Thank you very much. I think if you have some few questions to ask.
Let's stay on the education sector. The sector ministry has denied claims it owes the West Africa Examination Council for the conduct of the last year's WAEC and BEC. Now, the Deputy Ranking Member on the Education Committee of Parliament, Dr. Clement Apak, had alleged government owes the examination body about 23 million Ghana cedis, which is crippling its operations and threatening the smooth conduct of this year's West Africa examination beginning August 1 this year. Now, Deputy Education Minister Reverend Ntim Forger has rubbished the claims the exam may not come off as scheduled.
PAC is misleading the public. We are writing BC, we are writing WAEC. Every examination that is scheduled is coming on.
So, so you settled the amount?
There is no problem with WAEC. WAEC is adequately resourced. Every government obligation to WAEC has been met, and so we will continue to engage them if they have further challenges they need us to assist them with. That is why we are here. We've always supported WAEC and will continue to support WAEC. We are the hosts of the headquarters of WAEC, and therefore our commitment has been unflinching to ensuring that we bring along the rest of the 7 countries that form part of WAEC: Nigeria, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Gambia, all of them. Ghana carries them along, and that's why we've come. We'll continue to resource them, and we'll continue to provide them all that they need to continue the good work they are doing.
So come August to be writing the WAEC?
So WAEC, BC, and every examination we've scheduled for the year will happen unabated.
Thank you very much. So you just heard the Deputy Minister for Education there, that the WAEC for the 2022 year will happen as scheduled, including that of the Basic Education Certificate examination here. So that's what it is. Earlier he was here touring the printing house, back printing press, where they have been printing textbooks, history and science and some other subjects here. And you can see the work is still ongoing. We are told that across the country, the producers or those in the business of the printing have completed about 50% of the work.
In a related development, the Ghana Education Service says perennial food crisis in senior high schools will soon be a thing of the past, as it will now give monies to advance to the buffer stock company. Government is racing against time to supply food to all schools after these institutions almost shut down due to severe shortages. Already, Charles has ordered the suspension of the many extracurricular activities in senior high schools over the lack of funds. On your screen now, you have a copy of that statement from Charles, indicating clearly that at our third quarter National Executive Council mandatory meeting held on the 21st of this month, 2022, at New Jobbing Senior High School in Kofirija, Council resolved that, among other things, the schools should put on hold all co-curricular activities such as sports, culture, national science and math quiz, the shack squeeze, and all that that demand some money before students are sent out. And it continues to indicate that most of these money sent to the schools these days are for perishables, apart from the fact that it is inadequate for even the feeding of the students, and it is equally the misappropriation of funds if we should continuously use such monies for the things that they are not intended for. So these are some of the claims that Charles is making, while the Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Professor Kwesi Opoku-Amankwa, has been sharing how government plans to address some of these feeding challenges within the schools.
The arrangement, not in the past, in fact, the arrangement is that the suppliers are supposed to supply directly to the schools, except that during this period where we have a challenge, that is why we've indicated that if you have maybe one supplier who supplies to 10 schools, and he was going to go to each of the schools, and it's a day each, we are going to have about 10 days for the person to finish. Okay. And we will still have the complaint. So why don't we do some zoning during this period so that the schools can come to the point to come and pick? But as we go forward, we'll revert to the situation where we'll get the schools, we'll get the suppliers to go directly to the schools.
And just as my colleague Papa Ni Eshali has been indicating earlier, the Ministry of Education says more than 50% of textbooks meant for the basic schools have been printed and delivered to various regional offices. For more than 2 years, students at the basic schools have been without approved textbooks since the new curriculum was introduced. But Deputy Minister of Education, Reverend Tim Forger, says the books have been delivered to students and the rest will be ready before September deadline.
Since the introduction of a new curriculum, basic schools have gone without textbooks for years. Well, today, the Deputy Minister for Education is at one of the printing houses responsible for delivering new textbooks to these students. I have with me here two of those books. This is Sub-Saharan Science for Primary Schools, Basic 3, and there's York Series Science for Primary Schools. This is for Class 4. There's more that is being printed across the country, but here in this particular printing house is just for science. I have the Executive Director of Back Press, Francis Nyeni, who will join me and give me the update on the progress of work in this particular printing house. So, Francis, how many books were you commissioned to actually print?
Contractually, we were commissioned to print over 1 million books for 2 publishers.
Okay. And in total, how many books were expected to print individually?
In terms of one publisher, we're supposed to print 500,000, and the other publisher also 500,000.
Okay, great. But so that was a month ago, I want to believe. You have about a month to complete your deadline. We're giving 120 days in total for all the publishers. And what was the progress of the work that, in particular, Back Press has done?
Okay, in terms of the contract that we signed with the publishers, for that matter, the government through the publishers, we're supposed to print and deliver within 90 days. So far, we've printed and delivered 60% of the total quantity. So we believe, which is even on or before, we can guarantee that we can deliver the rest of the books on or before the 90 days deadline.
So what would you say the percentage of work that you've done?
About 60%.
60%?
Yes.
What was the progress of the remaining 40%? The 60%, let me ask first. Is it that they've left your warehouse, if given to the publishers, or it's gone to the regional level?
The 60% has left our warehouse, and delivered through the publishers to the regional level for onward distribution to the district. So far the 40% which is left to be worked on, about 15% or 20% is complete. As you witnessed in our factory, looking at the progress of work, as I indicate, we'll be able to deliver less than the stipulated time.
Well, we are told that across the country, the producers or those in the business of the printing have completed about 50% of the work.
Today we are here, we've inspected all the processes that the textbook printing goes through, and already some 60% of the quantities expected have already been delivered to the various regions for subsequent delivery to the district levels and eventually to classrooms. So all over the country, as we are receiving these positive reports, same are also being received from other printers, and distribution is ongoing, which you can follow. And so we are excited that finally we have textbooks in our classrooms, and we are going to be printing and delivering until the last classroom receives adequate levels of textbooks.
This is not the first printing press you've been to. In total, how many books have you taken stock of?
We are collating the figures for all the subjects that are being printed and for all the publishers that are being engaged to print. And so by close of the week, we'll be able to have a report as to how many total number of books have gone to the regional levels or regional centers, how many have actually got to the classrooms. All that will be collated.
For students, when can they expect to get the books in their hand? When exactly can we expect the textbooks in the classroom?
By now, some classrooms have them. As I indicated, deliveries had already, as we came here, 60% had already left the four walls of this warehouse or this printing press. In some schools, they have received, and in other cases, the delivery has been made to the regions. In some cases, deliveries has even got to the district levels, and so we are monitoring and ensuring that the delivery, printing, delivery, distribution must continue as effective at the speed that we are seeing it now, and we are very optimistic that even before the 90-day period, every school and every child will have the required number of books.
An example of a school that has received the books that we can check from.
We'll give you all the details. We'll check and give you all the details.
You say it's an ongoing process, something has happened.
It's an ongoing process. We'll collate all the data, and then we'll let you know.
That the ministry at this point in time do not know the students or schools that have received
on that mischief angle, because that will not be.
Well, it's not mischief. You mentioned that some of the students have received the textbooks.
It's a process that is ongoing. We are here at the press house, having seen the production, the packaging, and the delivery. And we have given you information of about 60% that have already gone to regions that have also been in the process of being distributed. Some have definitely gone to schools.
The textbooks for the students are being loaded right now onto this particular truck, and I'm told this vehicle is going to the northern region where students are expected to take stock of it. The ministry says it knows that the distribution and the printing are being done synchronously, and it hopes to update the public on the exact figures very soon. For JoyNews, Michael Ashali.
And let's stay on education. The DC for Isikuma Dobrin Brakwa Assembly has assured global partners to the implementation of the Giving for Change project that the district will put to good use every investment made into the multimedia group's classroom project at Bremen, Jamara. This came up when the partners engaged him and the multimedia group on the progress of the work in the central region. There's more in the following report.
Isikuma Odobin Brakwa Assembly is one of the two beneficiary communities under the Classroom Project initiative by the Multimedia Group. It is a sub-project under the global initiative called Given for Change, spearheaded by the Star Ghana Foundation and the West Africa Civil Society Institute in Ghana. The objective is to promote social justice through voluntary giving and local resource mobilization at the community level. Multimedia's classroom project is aimed at rallying public support and provide safer learning environment for some 700 pupils in the central and northern regions. JoyNews senior editor Fifi Kumsen and the classroom project lead Emefa Etiamwa Eli led the team of Star Ghana's global partners to meet with the district chief executive of Isikuma Odobin Brakwa, Lawrence Edutia Isiang. The two, together with the DCE, briefed the delegation on the status of the project and its benefit to the people of Breman Jamra.
We have steel benders who are offering to support. There's a value there. We have the Forestry Commission giving us wood, about 50,000 cedis worth of wood. We have electricians coming in, we have tilers coming in, we have so many resources from different individuals, different companies, just to support this whole project and enterprise.
The partners took turns to ask questions mostly about the significance of the project to the district and how the multimedia group is ensuring accountability to all donors and stakeholders. The DCE for the area assured the Star Ghana global partners that the district assembly will ensure that the investment is put to good use.
God richly bless you. I'm really grateful. But the assurance I'll give you, putting up the project is one thing, and utilizing it is also another thing. When the project is put to good use, I don't expect that the same thing comes to maintain it. It is my duty to maintain it. And that assurance I'm giving you, that whatever investment that is being made in the district, I am going to make sure, one, we put it to good use and then ensure a better maintenance culture to sustain the project.
On a side tour of the 7-space structure with the Education Directorate and the traditional leaders, the District Education Director, Emmanuel Panwon, told Multimedia the intervention by its audiences and donors to put up the school block will prevent further disasters in the community. He said the Education Directorate will give the necessary support to complete the project.
This is a very wonderful project that Multimedia and the Star Ghana have brought to Bremen Jamra. And I must say that we are so excited because we have serious deficit in terms of classroom infrastructure. So by bringing this project to Bremen Jamra, we will say that we thank you so much and God bless you for that initiative. It will help us have our children in a very good environment that is conducive for learning. Not long ago, some 5-6 years ago, there was a structure that broke down here and even killed some 6 people. So by bringing this edifice here, in fact, it is going to prevent disaster.
Jansihene of Breman Jamra committed to continue mobilizing communal labor to complete the project.
Mijana kwa fuso today basana name meshebo na matutu asra ho de ma e kan di wie no yempe de obebem dem den zamana ankofo why de woje bodom hen na woje wi school da na ma hen no mombosan na moje maje akama ho mo fama ko school ha wo susarin so won susa.
On behalf of the chiefs and people of Jamra, I promise to ensure that this project is completed. I want to assure the multimedia group and its audience that their investment will not go waste. Posterity will not forgive us if we fail as leaders to provide the needed support to complete the school block.
The Breman Jamra School Block is a 3-classroom unit with an ICT and library, a staff common room and a headmaster's office. It has been funded by the cherished audiences and clients of the multimedia group. Among them are the Forestry Commission, DBS Roofing Sheet, Israeli Embassy, Geoplus Ghana, Ghana Port and Harbours Authority, the Plant City Extension Project, Tropical Cables and many more. The Star Ghana Foundation and the West Africa Civil Society Institute are lead agencies for the Ghana chapter of the Given for Change project, with funding from the Dutch Foreign Affairs Ministry.
And thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. We'll be back after these messages. And you're welcome back. The National Democratic Congress is asking the Judicial Council to institute an internal inquiry into what the party describes as the phenomenon of unreasonable judgments and unpardonable factual errors, which have become a commonplace in the judgments of the Supreme Court. Now, according to the largest opposition political party, it is shocked by the blunders committed in some landmark cases, including the 2020 general election petition case, hence the need for immediate remedial measures. Johnson Asiedu Nketia is General Secretary of the party.
Separation of powers and checks and balances. It implies that each state institution, each of the 3 state institutions, have powers reserved for them. And it will be dangerous in any democracy when 1 or 2 of the state institutions are on a collusion course with another. And that is why it makes a lot of wisdom for each state institution to apply forbearance in undertaking their duties. So if you know that there's an area reserved for the judiciary, it will be in the interest of Parliament not to veer into that. If Parliament knows that there is an area which is reserved for the executive, it makes a lot of wisdom, and for the preservation of our democracy, that Parliament will be careful in their attempts to veer into the domain of the executive. In the same way, when the judiciary is presented with a situation where, in exercising certain powers, they will appear to be veering in the exclusive domain of the legislature or the executive, they must tread cautiously. Because if each of the 3 institutions decide to stick to their, they decide to exercise their full powers, there will be confrontation between the 3 institutions instead of collaboration, and then it will lead to the breakdown of our democracy. And that is why we are worried if we see that there are attempts by the judiciary to invade domains that are traditionally reserved for the legislature. The NDC is also greatly concerned about the unholy haste of the Apex Court in trespassing into domains reserved for the legislature by the 1992 Constitution. We note that one entrenched principle of our legal governance since 1993 has been the recognition by our courts that it is not their business to get into certain matters that by law have been assigned to other branches of government. Contrary to this principle, we have observed a creeping tendency of the Apex Court to trespass into domains reserved for Parliament. In the process, the court has demonstrated legal or constitutional hubris and thrown overboard the restraints the court has exercised in the past over matters that fall within the domain of the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. And as I have said, we find this to be very dangerous development, because if Parliament also decides to exercise powers that are on the borderline, it may cripple the whole democracy. Administrative abuses by His Lordship, the Chief Justice himself. Quite apart from the above, the Honorable Chief Justice, Justice Kwesi Aninyeboa, is likely to go down in history as the worst Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana since the inception of the Fourth Republic. His reign as Chief Justice has been characterized by unimaginable administrative abuses. These abuses are thrown into sharp relief when the conduct of the current Chief Justice is measured against the professionalism and conduct of former Chief Justices. We recall, in particular, the words of Chief Justice Apalu at his send-off party, that, and I beg to quote, "The one great quality I would wish to see in my colleagues is courage. That is to say, they should be in a position to defend to the death positions they believe to be right. I charge you to keep or help keep the flag of the judiciary flying, and may the profession as a whole provide leadership and best counsel on these professional matters which we have all held in trust for the benefit of generations yet unborn," unquote. It appears that this wise counsel of Chief Justice Apalu has no resonance with our current Chief Justice, who has failed to show leadership and to keep the flag of the judiciary flying by abusing his powers to empanel the courts. It has been our understanding that the setting up of divisions of the High Court in Accra, such as the Criminal Division, Lands Division, the Human Rights Division, and the Commercial Division, were all meant to ensure that these specialized courts deal with matters that directly fall within their competence and jurisdictions. In fact, these courts started very beautifully, and many were those who hailed the establishment of the court.
And thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. Now, doctors at India's first accredited cancer hospital, Apollo Proton Cancer Center, are set to collaborate with their Ghanaian counterparts on proton therapy. Now, it's a radiation therapy used to destroy tumor cells but does not damage healthy tissue. The doctors are hoping that the partnership will help cut the cost of patients forced to travel to India for treatment. There's more in the following report.
Apollo Proton Cancer Center is the first and only facility in South Asia and the Middle East, and India's first accredited cancer hospital. Some of the most common cases being treated at the center are pediatric cancers and tumors, particularly those found in the head and neck. The center applies proton therapy, which is a radiation therapy that uses tiny particles called protons used to destroy tumor cells, but do not damage healthy tissue. Speaking at a press briefing in Accra on Thursday, consultant at the Apollo Proton Cancer Center, Dr. Nagarjuna Burela, explained the aim of the hospital is to fight the widespread of cancer worldwide. He also expressed the center's readiness to cooperate with Ghanaian doctors to treat cancer cases in the country. He highlighted how complicated cases were treated with the utmost precision.
We also coordinating with the doctors how to give better care to the patients of Ghana, thus decreasing the late toxicities and thus decreasing all the complications of the late toxicities and improving the quality of life and also the survivorship. So this is important. So not only treating cancer is not the important thing, and how is the quality of life post-treatment. That is important.
Presidential Advisor on Health, Dr. Nsiasari, who was a guest speaker at the event, called on other medical centers in the country to take advantage and start this kind of treatment. He also appealed to the APCC to establish a facility in Ghana to prevent patients from traveling to India for cancer and tumor treatment.
Other new hospitals like Rage and others which are coming up, we want to take advantage and start this type of treatment in those places. And we can not start from the scratch. We will work together of where things are working, like Apollo. I've challenged them to come and set up here. Come here and join us. I'm a surgeon, general surgeon, and I'm sure any of the neurosurgeons and all this, when you work with them for about 2, 3, 4 patients, and I think they can do it.
One of their patients, Michael Asamoah, was diagnosed with a brain tumor that caused partial blindness. Michael traveled to Chennai, India, to receive treatment at the Apollo Proton Cancer Center. He shared his success story.
I was losing my vision. I didn't know the cause, so I went for treatment in our hospital, and then it was diagnosed I have a tumor in my brain. Mr. Ahmed was also with us, encouraging us. The doctors were also very good, right? From the security, doctors, everybody was working efficiently. They were encouraging us. Anything we needed, they provided us. So I'm very grateful.
And after decades of existence, the only critical care nursing school in Ghana and West Africa lacks a functioning ventilator for training, which is affecting students. JoyNews' Tasha Michelle was at the School of Perioperative and Critical Care Nursing at Kolebu Teaching Hospital and filed this report.
Critical care plays a vital role in improving healthcare in any nation. The School of Perioperative and Critical Care is the only school in Ghana and West Africa that offers training in this regard. However, after years of existence, the school has not seen a significant improvement in its infrastructure. In an interview with JoyNews, the Student Representative Council President of the school, Baji Kobna Andrews, complained about the lack of a functioning ventilator in the school.
The most sudden thing is that this facility, as we are seeing, is the only training institution in Sahara Africa. We don't have any other place. We are not recognized. We don't have a broken vehicle, so that if any time we have a problem, we can rush the person to any place. We don't have anything. Our lab scale, we don't have a live ventilator. We don't have a ventilator that can support. We can learn on it. So we are doing buga work here. It is not helping us.
He expressed worry over the recognition given to critical care nurses in Ghana.
So we are not much recognized as such. As vital as our role is, we are not recognized in that manner. Mostly, you go to the ward as a critical care nurse, you are the only person who is taking care of about 5-4 patients on ventilators, and they are on medication that are keeping them breathing. So medication that will keep them alive while we try to put them in order so that they can regain their consciousness and be able to take care of their own life. And in the ward, when you go to the ward, you are in charge of emergency medications. You are in charge of taking care of people who are only dying. Virtually, we do everything for the patients. Holistic care, when we say holistic care, we are delivering holistic care to patients in the intensive care unit.
A student of the school, Efwa Chumwa Damso, complained about the accommodation challenges encountered by them and called for assistance.
Only critical care and perioperative nursing school is here in Accra. There is no other critical care nursing school. So all other people from the northern region, from the southern region, from all other regions would have to travel all the way here. Imagine a whole lot of Ghanaians meeting in Accra, and we have only 2 hostels allocated to critical care and perioperative nurses. This year, I think my batch are about 190 plus, and not half of them were entitled to be in the hostel because the hostel cannot accommodate all of them. And currently, the hostels that we have, 2 people are supposed to share 1 room, and it's like a cubicle. When you enter, there is no other space for anything. So we are just appealing to the due people to come to our aid to get our accommodation sorted out.
Tasha Michelle's report for JoyNews.
And residents of Karachi in the Karachi West District of the OT region have raised concerns about the erratic power supply by Northern Electricity Distribution Company, NETCO. Now, they lamented that the rampant light-out and low-voltage supplies experienced in that community is having a toll on their economic and social lives. There's more in this report by Fred Kwame.
Maxwell resides in Karachi and had been practicing his warden profession for years. His entire family survives on proceeds from his venture where he provides varied warden services. He tells me his business had taken a downtrend due to an erratic power supply.
Okay, light off no basana.
The frequent light-offs and low-voltage supplies are disturbing. It delays our work output.
We don't have any option.
We have to wait for power to be restored before we continue our work. My car has been in the shop for about 3 months. The welder is unable to complete work on it because of the erratic power supply. Bernice sells at a cold store along the principal street. Her shop serves the southern part of Karachi. She laments how unstable power supply from the Northern Electricity Distribution Company is affecting her business. Our businesses are suffering because of the light-offs. Our stock often gets spoiled due to the frequent light-offs, especially at night. We are pleading with the authorities to resolve the problem to save our businesses. The development has infuriated the residents as the entire Karachi West District continues to suffer the erratic power supply. The residents trooped the streets on Thursday to press home their demand for better services. They grieved the damages caused to their businesses and appliances and urged NETCO to construct a substation in the OT region, which they believe would help resolve the problem. The residents rounded up the peaceful demonstration at the premises of the Karachi West District Assembly, where a petition was presented for onward submission to the Energy Minister.
We are tired. Our patience has been stretched to the limit, and we can no longer bear the lack of concern for our problems. We feel neglected and think NETCO does not take us seriously. Joel, we therefore demand from a high office a permanent solution to the above-mentioned problems. We demand a regular and efficient electric power supply henceforth. Joel. We also demand establishment of 2 or more substations between Yendi and Karachi to minimize the load on the main line and to help in easy identification of faults anytime there is an outage. Joel. We conclude by sounding a word of caution to the workers of NETCO in Karachi municipality not to embark on any disconnection exercise until stable power supply is restored.
The office of the Karachi West District Chief Executive is not spared from the power challenges. One of the 2 phases that supply power to his office was off when JoyNews visited him. He lamented the development, which also threatens the security of the area, but promised to lobby the relevant authorities to get the problem fixed.
Recently, I think the one time we met on it, MUSEC met on it, and we said it was a security issue. And the day we met, that day, one of our sub-chiefs was shot, because that day there was power off. It was shot around 7:30 because there was power off. If there was power, that wouldn't have happened. So for me, this has moved beyond social, economic to security issues. I think that NEPCO has to up their games and do the right thing. You have to meet the NEPCO and see how best this thing will be resolved.
The residents have vowed to hit the streets if nothing is done about the erratic power supply within the next 2 weeks. Fred Kwame Asari, JoyNews, Karachi.
And back in the studio, many people struggle with maintaining their natural hair. From treatment to the amount of time spent at the salon, it can be costly in dealing with the situation. The most go-for option is the perm hair. Of course, on the other hand, others have opted to lock their hair as well, despite the cost and stigmatization attached to that type of hairstyle. And Makosia Atipo visited some salons here in Accra and now reports.
Dreadlocks, popularly called rasta, are rope-like strands of hair formed by interlocking the hair in itself. We meet Alex, a trader who has visited the Mikesh Crown salon to retwist his locks. He says the hairstyle is demanding.
For natural hair like this, maybe you can use a normal soap to wash it. But if you want to treat it good, that one, it costs you. Let's say for me, every 3 weeks I have to lock it, and locking it costs, let's say, I'll spend more than 50 cedis to do it.
Although Alex puts in effort to maintain his hair, he struggles with stigmatization and harassment from the public.
In Ghana here, they have bad perception about those who do dreads. And let's say if you go to a place that they are not familiar to dread like this, they look in like some kind way, you understand? They describe you as a bad person a lot. So I face a lot of challenges, and even police worries the dread guys a lot. Especially me, I can meet let's say police 5 times a day.
William Akpache is a professional loctician at Mikesh Crown Salon. He explains why opting for locks is a better choice.
The Ghanaians, let's say about let's say 50% or 60%, they now know that no, the natural hair is the best. Dealing with the chemical, they have a lot of harmful and those kind of headache and things. So right now they are now trying to get into a natural hair, which is dreadlocks.
Some individuals also share their preference for locks over other hairstyles.
They say your natural hair is your natural style. I don't want to put anything inside my hair because I want my natural hair. If I go to the salon, I can't be in the dryer.
I just don't like to cut my hair, so I always prefer locking it or twisting it.
Actually, I'm a very busy person, so I actually don't get time to go to the salon often. That's why I chose to opt for the locks.
The call for Ghanaians to embrace their natural hair is on the high. However, maintenance will forever be a struggle. Enyunam Akosua Atipo's report, read to you.
Also, it's often said that the clothes makes the man. Well, there's a US-based group that has taken that concept and is using it to change the often negative narrative about black men by, of course, feeding images of sharply dressed men into mainstream and social media platforms. They are called the Black Menswear, and they are in Ghana with a rather special mission to stage the best dressed flash mob you have ever seen. Of course, Neandre is with that team. He's actually the founder and CEO of Black Menswear, joining us in studio now. Neandre, it's good to see you. Thank you. I must say you look stunning as well. So that gives us a picture of what to expect on Saturday, right, when you have that event. Tell us more about it.
So the Black Menswear Flash Mob, it's a traveling global networking opportunity that we've had to really come together and show that black men are strong, black men are united, black men do work together. We can come together for good, and just to combat, again, a lot of the negative stereotypes, especially me being from the U.S., they don't often show positive imagery of our community, especially when it comes to our men. And so what we've done is we develop a platform to just combat all that negative stereotypes, because when you think of the stereotypes, they really affect the young black boys, right? They see these things and they see these words about themselves, and they start to feel as though they're less than. They start to feel as though they can't achieve because there's such a cloud covering them, and so we're trying to break that so that way they know they can do whatever they want, and we showcase that through the flash mob.
But give us a sense of when you started this whole campaign.
Yes, so we're in year 5. So
5 years.
5 years.
That's impressive.
Yes, for the last 5 years we've been traveling the world. Again, started in Dallas, Texas. We've done New York, we've done Los Angeles, we've done Miami. We've done over 15 cities in the U.S. We've also done London, Paris, and this is our first time in Africa, so of course we had to come to Ghana first.
Akwaba.
Yeah.
I hope you understand that one.
I do.
But how hard has it been working to change the stereotype?
You know, it's funny. It hasn't been hard. A lot of it more so has been along the lines of finally, right? Because we know these things about ourselves. As mature adults, we can think for ourselves. But those that are more impressionable, they don't see it the same way. And so it's like, well, finally somebody's offering a voice that really speaks to who I am internally and really helps me to get this energy out, because you know, we're a brotherhood globally, right? The diaspora started here and took us across the world, and we are all brothers. And so just having that safe space for brothers to come together and get to know each other and share their stories and share their missions, so that way we can grow and impact each other in a positive way.
And Neandre, there's a question about the timing. We started off with the year of return. We are doing the beyond the return. Are you feeding into that as well?
I am. You know, really coming, like this was. So we decided to come to Ghana. Let me break this down. So we decided to come to Ghana because my main photographer actually has an organization called Hope Missions Ghana. And so Hope Missions he's been coming to Ghana since 2016, every year to do work, more so in Kumasi. And so he was like, no, we have to go to Ghana. That's got to be the first place we go.
It's bringing you back home.
Africa.
Yes.
And then he said, when you get here, he said, I'm going to take you to where you need to go to feel the history. And so being here and seeing that, obviously the timing for us was like, all right, as we expand this, we have to go to Ghana. And so we love being here, the history, the learning what we've learned thus far. And you know, we've been here a little over a week now. It's beautiful.
And I'm sure that someone's watching right now and still asking that question, what will I miss if I don't show up for the event tomorrow?
So if you're on any type of social media platform, you're going to see
bits of it.
Right. And so it's like, man, I could have been there. The flash mob, it's one thing to see it on social media, it's another thing to be in the community when it's going on live. Right. And so just the brotherhood of guys, just say, man, you know, one of the biggest things that we have as a community is that we know how to compliment each other ways that other people can't compliment us, right? And so just that positive energy. Guys come to network. They come in with their businesses. They come to showcase their businesses. They come to see, you know, one of the oftentimes in the U.S., because of the population is more Caucasian than Black, we're providing a safe space where they see, like, you don't need to leave your community in order to be successful with your business. You have educators that need mentors for students. They come and they find them there. And so just a safe space to amplify your business, to get to know more brothers that are like-minded, and then also you're going to see the fashion that goes with it.
The name Black Menswear, right? It sounds more, I don't want to call it chauvinistic, right? But there's the question about inclusivity and trying to get women on board as well. How about that?
So, you know, again, we got to go back to the root of why we started Black Menswear, right? So in the United States, there are many outlets for Black women. There are not a lot of outlets for Black men. So our space specifically was to empower the male, because where we are, there's so much female empowerment. And now that we take that globally, we're able to leverage and understand other cultures and other communities, and those are things that we are learning about it. But initially we started because back home, and there were no outlets for embracing the Black man, and we wanted to be that voice.
I'll leave you with the final words. What's the future looking like for you?
So one of the things that we just did, we partnered with Hope Missions to work with the village, the Basis village outside of Kumasi, and like that flipped a switch for us to where, you know, we're continuing. Obviously, you know, we have a podcast, we have a YouTube channel, we have the social media, we do interviews and those kind of things. We work with nonprofits. We do a lot of nonprofit work back home. But it's continuing this global mindset of how can we work. We work with the First Love Foundation since we've been here to be able to help with one of the churches that they have and really grow with the youth or the school, the Sunday school that's there, right? Just being able to make a more global impact and just continuing to speak this voice of positive Black male unity, strength, voice, strength in numbers, community and camaraderie, and so just continuing to push that forward.
Impressive. Neandri, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
You're still with us here on The Pulse. We'll return shortly after this break. This weekend is about to get really exciting. JoyNews is set to premiere a new entertainment show called Exclusives, and its maiden edition promises to be very exciting. Host of that show, Noella Karine Yale, is in studio. Let's welcome the goddess.
I love the way you called me.
Yeah, Noella Karine Yale. Yeah. And that's how Exclusive is going to be on Saturday. Tell us about it.
It's good to be doing this with you. Well, Exclusives, how do I even start this? It's my baby.
Yeah.
It's my everything. I mean, from the way I'm talking about it, should tell you how special this project is.
It sounds really exclusive.
Of course. And how this project got conceived was pretty much interesting, but not too, out of the, the world, for lack of a better description. As reporters, when you're assigned to go cover an event, you're expected, apart from, capturing the important, stuffs about
you want to do something extra.
Exactly. You have to have an interview with the personalities that grace the event or who the event is about. And every now and then I'm having conversations with these people and I realize that there's something that needs to be explored. There's a question or there's something that they say and I feel like, okay, this needs a follow-up. But you don't have the ample time. You don't have enough time to
explore that.
To explore that because there's several press men behind you wanting to also have a shot at interviewing these people. So I was like, okay, if time is going to beat me at events, then I'm going to create my own time with these people and have a beautiful, progressive, insightful conversations with them. And so Exclusives is essentially me having conversations, not an interview.
Right.
It's a difference. Right. Me having...
We're getting really personal here.
Exactly. Conversations with various people from various sectors. We're going to see politicians on the show. We're going to see clerics on the show. We're going to see sports personalities on the show. And of course, showbiz personalities. But the twist here is we're going to be talking showbiz. So if I'm going to talk
interesting is. So let's talk about this weekend briefly before we go.
Okay, so this weekend we're going to have founders of Africa's biggest arts festival, Afrochella. There are 4, but I got the opportunity to have a conversation with 3 of them. And they told me how, Afrochella was conceived. And as a tease, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. Right. And apparently they organized the show flopped, and, out of that, they got Afrochella, basically. Yeah. So for more insight, you should look out for the show tomorrow.
Yeah, be on the lookout. It's exclusive, and that's why we're calling it Exclusives. Noella Karine Yale there. But that's all we have for you here on the show. My name is Blessed Sogah. Log on to myjoyonline.com. Updates there for you.